I never wanted mirrors in my home, and yesterday someone told me that was true for her as well. And I've just woken up, and it got me to thinking, I wonder how many of us there are. For so much of my life, I just felt so uncomfortable. I'd walk past a mirror and I would just look away. I wouldn't linger to look at photographs. I would just avert my gaze. I didn't like to see myself too clearly. I always thought it was about not liking the way that I looked. But now I don't think that's what it was. I believe that looking at yourself when you don't feel safe inside, when there's loads of repressed stresses and emotions and your nervous system is dysregulated, I think there's something really uncomfortable about that. And the mirror shows you something that you're not ready to meet yet. And my body could feel that, even though my mind didn't yet have words for it. It felt like a kind of contraction, like a tightening in my chest, a holding. And I don't think anyone could tell from the outside. It was subtle, but I could feel it. And it was like I wanted to take up less space. And I want to be honest about why the mirrors went away. Because I took them all off the walls where I was living. And if I would travel, I would cover them with material or a t-shirt. It would be poetic to say, I had a deep intuitive understanding of nervous system healing back then. And I got it. But that's not true. The reality was, I thought I was ugly. I didn't like to look at myself. And I'm not sharing this in a way to fish for compliments. It's not false modesty. I didn't like what I saw, so I stopped. I removed the mirrors, I avoided photographs, I looked away. It felt easier than the alternative. And then very occasionally, something strange would happen. I would be staying at a friend's house or some bathroom in a hotel or something, and I would look in the mirror and think, I actually look good. And I used to think of those mirrors as magic. Like if you get a very special mirror, you look okay. And when I used to say this to people, I'd say, you have a really kind mirror. They'd know exactly what I meant and they would agree. Somehow they knew it was true as well. We all understood this, that sometimes you'd have your cruel mirror moments and sometimes you'd have your kind mirror moments, which tells us something, doesn't it? If the mirror changes, but not your face, the variable isn't your face. And I knew this about photography too, growing up around cameras, different lenses, and the effect they'd have on me. So I had opinions, strong ones. I knew that if someone was going to film me or photograph me, that I wanted at least a 135mm lens, or I was going to hate the results. And later I became a filmmaker. Not through any coincidence. I stayed firmly behind the camera. I loved working with actors. I would attend workshops with them. The idea of being on camera myself was something that I could not bear. The way I spoke, the way I came across, my mannerisms, my face, everything. In fact, it was like a genuine surprise to me in my life when anyone was attracted to me at all. I genuinely felt lucky when someone would want to date me. I stayed in long relationships, partly for that reason, feeling like I was the lucky one. It's hard to admit that now, but it's true. What was happening was I wasn't really seeing my face. I was seeing how I felt about myself projected outward onto that reflection of my face in the mirror. When we look at ourselves in the mirror, we're not seeing clearly. We're seeing through a filter of everything we believe about ourselves. Everything is filtered through our own self-worth. And when that worth is low, and when you've never learned to love yourself from the inside, even a kind mirror can't reach you. And here's the strange and wonderful thing. I don't feel like that anymore. Not because I've had any plastic surgery done or because I've dramatically changed how I look. It's that when I look in the mirror now, most mirrors, I see someone that I recognize, someone that I'm glad is there. Now I feel like I look quite nice in most mirrors, and if not, sometimes, maybe it's just an ugly mirror. And when I was at my most sick, when I was chronically ill and I was bedbound for years, I remember thinking, it really doesn't matter how I look. That's the least of my priorities. In some ways, everything became simple. I just wanted to live My relationship with my body changed. I just wanted a chance to be here and be able to move around and function even a little bit. And so in some ways it was kind of strangely freeing because I stopped performing in any sense. I had no energy to be able to think about what other people might be thinking. I remember one day the panic started rising in me when this friend was going to come and visit. And I hadn't seen him since before I'd got sick, and he was a BAFTA-winning cinematographer. So I was all like, I've got to do my hair, I've got to get dressed. And I was at a point where most days I didn't get dressed. I couldn't. Getting out of bed was impossible. And I couldn't. So when he came and he sat on my bedside, it dissolved something in me. It made me have to be humble somehow. And at that time, I felt sad about it. I would have loved to have the energy to do my hair, put on makeup, put on a nice top. I remember telling him he needed to bring coffees and croissants and things because I knew I wouldn't be able to even get up and go to the kitchen to make us a cup of tea. So he did. It was really sweet. He brought a whole tray of selected patisseries for us. And so how I looked became completely irrelevant. Everything was stripped away. And somehow I was able to be more my real self on that day than I ever had been before in all the time we'd known each other. And as I started to heal, as my nervous system repaired itself and I became more regulated and my energy started to expand and my symptoms went down, a new question started to present itself, and that was not just, can I survive, but who am I now? What do I actually want in life? What does it feel like to inhabit this body, this face, this life? Not from necessity, but from choice. Having no energy left inside me to perform changed something. It changed my perspective. Underneath the hypervigilance, underneath the continuous monitoring of myself, there was something there that was just me, something quiet and still, something that I hadn't discovered in my life before then. And I remember watching Eckhart Tolle talking about an apple, and if you put it on a windowsill and you watch it over a period of a few days or even a few weeks, over time, with acceptance, and noticing in yourself if any judgment comes up or any opinions or thoughts as this apple turns brown, or it starts to dry out, or it starts to shrink, and it goes through its own process over time. And then he asks, can you do this for yourself? And I remember listening to him talking this way and realizing it's true. We judge ourselves so harshly. We look at ourselves and see aging as a problem, rather than if we look at an apple, it's just interesting. And I think about that apple a lot, how it doesn't resist its own nature, its own aging process, or it's not performing in any way. It's just being an apple on a windowsill. I'm not always able to do that for myself, but I'm practicing. And some of this is to do with self-care, how I treat myself and look after myself. Giving myself permission to buy a piece of clothing or going to get my hair done, some way of showing myself that I care. And now it feels completely different to how it used to feel. Before it felt like maintenance for the performance almost, and now it doesn't feel like that. It's like I'm telling myself, I see you, I care about you, I'm glad you're here, you have value. These small acts of showing my self-worthiness. Nobody taught me that as a child. Self-love wasn't a concept that existed in my home, certainly not in a practical, embodied way. So learning this in my 50s feels like late, but better than never. Often I find myself thinking like a teenager, like, am I even going to be able to get a boyfriend? And then I realize, I sound like I'm 13. And I forgive myself that silliness, because the thing about healing is that we are releasing things that got frozen in time. And so many of those parts of my childhood and adolescence weren't able to be lived fully. So I never got to experience those things. And here's what I know now that I didn't know then. I can look at someone who's 70 or 80 years old and I find them incredibly beautiful. Not in spite of their age, but because of that bright light I can see shining out of them. The way they're free, the way they're completely themselves. That inner light that I find so attractive in others. And slowly, gradually, in myself. And what that feels like now, it's like a genuinely new opening up inside of my body. It feels like warmth in my chest, starting to spread outwards. A willingness, like something opening up slowly. And it's not exactly confidence growing, it's more like permission to be here. Everything I've learned about healing keeps bringing me back to this. The more we clear the blocks, the old survival patterns, the emotions, the past beliefs about whether we're really safe or lovable, the more light there is, and the more of ourselves actually shows up. It's not about how you look on the outside, it's about how free you feel on the inside. And those two things are more connected than people realize. When someone's genuinely free, when they feel really connected to themselves, it comes through their eyes, the way they move, their very presence. That's what authenticity really is. It's not a performance of confidence, it's not a curated image. It's just someone who's stopped being so concerned with being watched and starts actually living. I spent decades being monitored and watched, and I learned to perform to that. I was living from the outside in, and now I'm learning to live from the inside out. And so the mirrors are getting easier. So if you're someone too who, when you walk past a mirror, you look away, I just want to say I don't think it's vanity in reverse. I think it's a nervous system that doesn't feel safe enough yet to be seen. And that can change. It changed for me. If this video resonates, you're warmly invited to subscribe and share with anyone who might be walking this path. I've created a nervous system healing roadmap which you can download below if you don't have that already, and I'll put on screen a meditation now in case you'd like to try a simple practice that's easy and soothing for your nervous system today. Thank you for being here. It means a lot. Take good care of yourself now.